20 minutes. That's how long she stood in the grocery store aisle. Not because she was distracted and not because she was on her phone either, but because she could not decide between two boxes of pasta. Not a life decision, not something complicated either. It was pasta. And she just couldn't do it though. So she put both boxes back and left the store without buying anything. So she sat in her car, feeling completely rattled, of course, because it was at work, at home, in conversations where she needed to think quickly and she just couldn't get there. The woman who had always had the answers suddenly couldn't find one. And no one told her that impaired decision making is a symptom of perimenopause and menopause. But it's symptom number 58 in a book that I wrote on decoding the 80 symptoms of menopause. And it's one that hits especially hard for women who have always identified as being sharp, capable, and decisive. I'm Tafiq Akhir, Mr. Menopause here, your go-to source for reliable menopause and healthy aging support. Welcome to the Menopause Made Simple show. So let's talk about what's actually happening here, right? Because decision making isn't just a personality trait, right? It's a brain function. And specifically, it happens in the prefrontal cortex. And that's the part of the brain responsible for planning, for weighing options, anticipating consequences, and making decisions. And estrogen supports that function directly. See, it influences the neurotransmitters that your prefrontal cortex depends on in order to do its job. So, when estrogen levels drop and fluctuate, that system becomes less efficient. And decisions that used to feel automatic, well, now they require real mental effort. Add in brain fog on top of that. Add fatigue, add anxiety, and add the sleep deprivation that so many women are dealing with during this transition. And what you get is a brain that's working with significantly reduced capacity for complex thinking. And that's not a weakness, ladies. It's also not incompetence. It's simply biology. Now, let's talk about how this actually shows up in your daily life, right? Because at home, it shows up in the small decisions first: what to make for dinner, what to buy at the store, how to organize the weekend. Choices that used to take seconds now take forever or they don't get made at all. And that creates a ripple effect because when the small decision starts to pile up unmade, then the house starts to feel harder to manage. And then you start to feel like you can't keep up in your own life. At work, the impact can be more serious. You're slower to respond in meetings. You second guess decisions that you would have made confidently before. And you find yourself going back and forth on things that should be pretty straightforward. And the fear of making the wrong call, well, it really starts to creep in. So instead of deciding, you delay. Instead of moving forward, you tend to loop back. And instead of feeling like the capable professional that you've always been, you start to wonder if you still are. And then socially, it shows up in quieter ways. You defer to others more than you used to. You let other people decide where to go, what to do, and how to handle things. Not because you don't have opinions, because forming and expressing them takes more energy than you have right now. And over time, that starts to feel like you're disappearing. Let's talk about how you can figure out the best way to navigate this issue for yourself, because there's no single answer. And what works for one woman may not be what works for you. So start by paying attention to when this issue actually starts to show up most. Is it worse in the afternoons when your energy is low? After a bad night's sleep, during high stress periods? Because when you start to map your own pattern, you stop feeling like this is happening randomly and you start to see it as information your body is giving you about when your decision making capacity is most depleted. Then ask yourself, what kind of support makes sense for where you are right now? Some women find that simplifying their decision load makes an immediate difference, reducing the number of choices they have to make each day by automating routine ones. Things like the same breakfast, consistent scheduling, a simplified wardrobe. Well, this preserves mental energy for decisions that actually matter. Some women also find that using external structures help as well. A simple pros and cons list, talking a decision through with someone that you trust, giving yourself a deadline so the deliberation doesn't go on indefinitely. And then some women find that the conversation with their healthcare provider about what's happening hormonally opens up options that changes everything for them. And just know, none of these are the right answer for everyone, but all of them start with you taking what you're experiencing more seriously, because this is not you losing your edge. This is your brain operating under conditions it was never designed to navigate alone. See, your intelligence has not changed. Your competence hasn't changed either. But your capacity for complex thinking, well, it has been temporarily affected by a hormonal shift that's disrupting the very systems that your brain depends on to make decisions. So stop judging yourself for standing in that grocery store unable to choose. Stop interpreting every moment of indecision as evidence that something is wrong with you, and instead start giving your brain what it actually needs: rest, structure, and reduce load. And also the understanding that this is temporary. You're not losing your ability to lead your own life. You're in transition, and transitions have a path forward. And to keep getting the knowledge and the resources that you need, click the video on the screen and let's keep building that path together.